On this episode of DIY Xplorer, we're doing How-To Cattower 2.0. Keep watching.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hi, I'm Dave, your host. This video is a specific how-to for Cattower 2.0. If you actually want a standard YouTube video of like just watching the build, you can click up here and that'll take you to my other video about Cattower 2.0. This one very specifically will be a step-by-step, the tools you need, the supplies you need, and each step of the process on how to build one for your very own house. Let's get started. Welcome to the outdoor studio. You will hear wind noise, you will hear cars because I live in a urban area. Ready to get into this? Let's do it. So here's the tools you're going to need for this build in no particular order. You will need a measuring device of some type. I will do it in American inches and in metric for everybody around the world that isn't using inches. You're going to need something to do square corners. I'm using a framing square. Anything you can use can be helpful. Just make sure it's a square corner. You're going to need to be able to cut, so you could use one of these. I have this, and you're going to see me using it a few places in this build. It's a Japanese handsaw, or any regular saw will work. But for the big cuts, I am using my handsaw, my circular saw. This is an electric circular saw. You can use a table saw, you can use a miter saw. These are the tools I have, so these are the tools you will see. Next thing you're going to need is a planer, a hand planer. You do not need an electric one. I have an electric one. Why? Because I built something last year, I needed it. Anybody ask you what tools you need starting out? The answer is the tools you need for that project. Now you don't need an electric one. You can use an old-fashioned planer. This one is my father's. It's about 50, 60 years old. It's powered by, yes, you know it, your hand. Next you're going to need is a electric drill. This will be for drilling wood and drilling screws in it. Highly recommend. Don't use a hand screwdriver because you won't be able to drill into wood with a hand screwdriver, would you? With that, I highly recommend getting just a kit of bits for all the different type of wood sizes you may need. And then going along with that process, you're going to need a variety of drill bits. This is just a simple, cheap Ryobi one. Costs, I think, about 20 bucks at your local big box store. I've used the heck out of that for all my projects. Also cutting, you're going to need a jigsaw. This is an absolute. You cannot do the round corners and cuts in this project without a jigsaw. Just drop it. You will also need a hot glue gun. This is one of my favorite hot glue guns because it's cordless. This is not an endorsement of Bauer, but this is an amazing little hot glue gun. I think it's like 40 bucks. You will need basically a staple gun, heavy duty. This is an old-fashioned Arrow T50 staple gun. You will need, this is an absolute, a 3/4 inch spade drill bit. You can buy these as sets. I just bought a set just so I have all the different sizes. You'll see why later in the build. And then finally, you will need something to cut some stuff. We're going to cut our upholstery fabric. We're going to cut our sisal rope. This is a good tool to have on it. So have a scissors, a knife, something like that. So that is all the tools I can think of that we may need. If there's anything after this little clip, it's because I forgot it and inserted it afterwards. Up next, we have the supplies you need for this build. Supplies you need for this build are as following. You will need a 4-inch wide cardboard tube. This is used for carpeting. You can get this at a carpet store or at a large hardware store that sells carpeting. Just go in and ask for it. That's all I did. You will need craft foam. This is 1/2 inch. I got this at a place that started with W and ends with Mart. You can get it online. You can go thicker as well. You need sisal rope, approximately about 6 rolls. Really depends on the height of your cat tower. You will need threaded rod. This is 5/8 inch. They only come in about 1 foot length sizes. I had to cut mine down. This is what's left of it. You also need nuts, block washers, and flat washers to go with that. These are pretty beefy. Hardware needs to be strong for active cats. You will need staplers for that staple gun, 1/2 inch. Metric is on the side here. Then you will need some fabric. I got some indoor-outdoor carpeting for the shelves. It really seems to hold up with the kitty cats. And then for the top and bottom, I just bought a very inexpensive throw rug at a place called Old Time Pottery. You can probably get it at another store around your location. And that's it for the build. No, not it for the build. That's it for the supplies.
Hey, this is Future Dave, and I forgot a few things after I was done videoing, so here's a quick add-on that supplies you're going to need. You're going to need some wood screws, 2 1/4 and some 3-inch wood screws. It's good to have a variety in between, and you can use them on future projects. You're going to need some plywood, which is panel board. If you get 2x2, they're called project panels. It's easy to fit in a car if you don't have a truck or a vehicle. You can move a 4x8 sheet. And then finally, you're going to need 2x6 board. They come in 8-foot lengths, and that's for the center of the pole, and it's also for the shelves. So you may need 2. If you get one longer than 8 feet, you could probably get away with 1. All right, back to past Dave.
All right, let's do this build.
We're going to try something different here. I'm going to do a little bit of narration while we do this project. So here's your cut list. You can pause that. You can also download it at diyxplorer.com/cattower2. How tall it should be. I'd recommend at least 5 to 8 inches shorter than your ceiling. Pause this if you need to see this also. So here we go. So you're going to measure your pole, and you're going to cut it down to about 6 inches or 5 to 8 inches shorter than your ceiling. Just use a little hand saw. If you got a jigsaw, you can do that. So the width of this tube is 4 inches. So you're going to cut your 6x2 4 inches wide. This is where you're going to need a circular saw or a table saw. And what you're going to do is measure the height minus 1.5 inches and cut it down. And as you can see, the tube doesn't fit over your pole yet. So what you're going to do is you're going to trim all 4 corners. You can use the electric planer or your hand planer. And as you can see, now it fits. So now we're going to work on our shelves. You're going to take your 4x8 sheet wood panels, or your 4x4, and you're going to measure out the depth 16 inches by 24. And you're going to cut all 3 shelves with your circular saw or your table saw. Now cut list part 2, this is where we make the shelf supports and the fancy shelves. So for the center pole, you're going to mark in 2 inches from your corners on all 3 shelves. And then I'm going to use a tube cutoff to mark the cut hole. And you're going to mark the outside of the tube. You can also use this for the corners. Makes it kind of easy and all symmetrical. And now we're going to cut the angle. This is just fancy stuff, not required. So you can drill through because you're going to start your jigsaw. You don't need such a big drill like that, just something bigger to get the blade through. So you're going to cut that out for your center pole. And don't cut it too wide. You don't want the pole too too loose, but you don't want it too tight either. Then get in there and do your corners. The round corners are only on the outside. And then here's your edge, your fancy edge. Now as you can see, we have all 3 shelves cut and the tube fits. And so here what I'm going to do is you're going to mark each shelf, the top, and in which order. It just makes it easier when you're doing stuff later. Alright, now we're going to do our top and our bases. And this is a technique where you can use a screw and a string to mark a circle. It did about, I believe it was 12 inches for this one. You're going to take your jigsaw and cut it out. Yeah, so the base was 12 inches I did for this. And then what you're going to do is take the first one and use it as a template for the second one. It'll get you fairly close. Cut that out, of course. And again, we're going to use our tube to mark the caps for the inside. You can use the inside of the tube cutout. You're going to cut 2 of these little cap pieces. As you can see, that's how the bottom would go. So now we move on to the shelf support. So you're going to mark 8 inches from the edge of your 2x6, and you're going to cut 3 of these, or 1 for each shelf. So if you have 4 shelves, you would do 4 shelves. Now you're going to mark in 1.5 inches from one side, and then the other side you're going to mark in 1 inch, and then mark that so you can cut it. And you cut that shelf. So each piece is going to be a different support for the shelf, so don't discard either of that.
Alright, so we have cut out all the pieces for the cat tower. So we've cut out the center piece that goes in the pole to make it stronger due to comments on the previous video. The shelves have been cut out, the top and bottom has been cut out, and now we're going to upholster all this stuff. So what we're going to do is first do the bottom. And for the bottom, I just bought a simple, I don't know, 24 by 40 carpet that's way bigger than we need.
The old man told me to take any rug in the house.
To give it a little pizzazz on the bottom instead of being all the same stuff. And so we'll do the bottom with that only. And then we got some indoor-outdoor carpeting. You can get this at your local big box store. We actually got it at a place called Old Time Pottery. It may be somewhere in other than Nashville. I don't know. It's called Google. Look it up. And so other things we're going to do is we're going to throw me the foam. Foam! So we also got foam because previously it was just carpet on wood. And so now we're going to put a 1/2 inch foam that we got this at, was it 1/2 inch multi-purpose foam, 24 by 72. It's project foam. You can get it at a place that starts with a W and ends with a mark. I don't like to shop there, but it's the best price, and you can probably get online. So next you're going to see us upholster things, and you have questions, just leave in the comments. I will answer every comment I possibly can, even maybe negative ones, but please don't do that.
Now we're going to do the top and base with the upholstery. So you want to remove the edges from the carpeting. It just makes it easier because it's kind of got a bridge on it. So you want to measure out about 3 inches from each edge of that base and mark it. This is the underside, so you don't have to really worry about marks everywhere. So you're going to cut that out from the corner, and you're going to measure that other edge so it's all symmetrical. And this is kind of optional, but it makes it easier for me. So you're just going to trim the edges to make it kind of a circle, and you'll see how this works a little bit here in the video. Now what you're going to do is cut V-shaped tabs, and this will help you with the upholstery. You don't have to mark the center, I just did in case I had to come back. As you can see, you just pull the tabs over, cut them, and staple and pull it tight. Now in hindsight, I probably should have drilled out the holes in the middle, but you know, sometimes you don't remember the order when you're making stuff up. Alright, for the caps, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to measure out from the edges, which is about 2.5 inches. And again, we're just going to cut that out, and you can do the circle as well, but with this I just opted not to, so you can see it works both ways. So you're going to cut out the tabs again, try to keep them kind of symmetrical. And you pull them over, and then you staple each one, and they can overlay a little bit because there's not a whole lot of space. And as you can see, it just goes real quick like that. I think that took about 10 minutes. And you can trim that, so that's all the inside. Nobody's going to see those part. Alright, let's work on the shelves here. So the last cat tower we did not have padded shelves, and this time I decided to improve on it that way. So we're going to use a 1/2 inch foam. And you're just going to cut that foam out. It's pretty simple, standard scissors. Knives are a little bit difficult with foam. You can see you're going to now do very similar to what you did with the bottom and the top, which is you're going to mark out from the edge, and this is a little bit more. It's going to be 5 inches. Probably didn't need to see all this stuff, but just in case, I put it in. And then you're going to mark it, and since this is the bottom side of the carpet, nobody's going to see that. So you're going to cut the size here. And then here's the upholstery section. I've done this several times in other videos, so up in the corner there will be a link to a video, hopefully. I am not a professional upholstery person. I kind of just hack my way through it, as you can see here. With practice, you can get better at it. Oh yeah, I sell merch too. So in the link below, you can get a shirt that says, "I make stuff for my cats." Alright, back. Trim off the excess around the pole where it's going to go through. There you have it for the top. Now we're going to take care of the bottom. So this may not be an exact science. I fold it around and I just use this knife to trim it. About a 1/2 inch from the edges. Same thing with the top. You're going to do that for each edge. This was the hardest for me because my OCD wanted everything to be perfect. As you can see, I was being very careful here, and so we're going to do all the edges. You're going to repeat this for each shelf, so trim the edges to make it nice and even here. So I put on with a spray adhesive. You can use upholstery tacks. I will do that in a future video because that seems to work a little bit better than this here. Kind of wanted this seamless look about it. And then you're just going to put it on there, make it nice and even. You can add weights to it to hold it down. Let this dry a good 20 minutes to an hour. So now you need to cut the hole in the bottom so that the pole will go through. Just attach it with staples and hammer tight. And just repeat that for each shelf. So if you have 2 shelves, do it for another, or 4, do a couple more times. Alright, so now we're going to insert our cut board into the center of the tube. Should go in fairly easy. Now you'll notice that it'll be about a 1/2 inch in from each end because we cut it shorter. So now what you're going to do is use wood screws. I say 1.25 inches, but you can use longer ones. You're going to screw on both sides to hold it in place. Now here's these end caps we cut out earlier. You're going to put that right in there. I marked where the pole was to make it easier for me a little bit later. You use 2-inch, 2.5, 3-inch screws. It doesn't really matter. Alright, now we're going to add our shelves here. And I had marked on my pole where the shelves wanted to be. I think I did evenly 24 inches. Depends on your height and where you want it. Here's a tip for sisal rope. Cut it out and just pull from the center. Alright, here's how we're going to do this. You're going to drill a hole in the back side of the tower where it's not seen. You're going to insert your sisal rope and hot glue it. Use a good amount of hot glue. It's safe for the kitties. And then what you're going to do is hot glue all the way around that first roll and hold it and hold it tight. And basically you're just going to wrap and add hot glue in one spot every few rows. And once you get in a groove, you're going to take a mallet or hammer in every few rows and pound it tight. Trust me, this makes a big difference than just putting it on loosely. And then through the glory of high speed, you'll see how this actually does go. So once you get to the near of an end of a section where I have marked, you're going to kind of finish it the same way that you started it with, which is drilling a hole into the pole, cutting your rope, and then glue, and then sticking it into that hole. If you need assistance, you can just use a screwdriver. That glue is hot. I've burned myself plenty of times. It's not fun. And then now you're going to glue around all the edges and then push that shelf right up there in the spot. So now just kind of finish wrapping the rest of the pole. One of the things you want to do is near the top of the pole, you want to leave about 2 inches gap in the rope for something that's coming up later. Again, you're going to pound tight and you're going to drill into the edge and glue just like you did ended all the other wraps. Go right up to the edge, cut it, glue it tight, push it in there. And now you can actually attach your base. On the bottom of that base, I added some rubber stops feet so it protects your floor, so you can do that. Now we're on to the top hardware and how you assemble everything. So first, the top cat, you need to drill a hole in there, a 5/8 inch, and this probably should have been done before you upholstered it, but hindsight. Then you want to mark the center on the top, and I just used a pencil with the cap there. And then you're going to use a 5/8 inch drill bit. You don't need that guide. I just used it because I had it from a previous project. Go all the way in there as far as you can. You can see the 2 inches at the top there. Alright, now trim your rod. You can use a saw to do that. I've got a grinder. Now you're going to drill your hole for your top piece again. Now you're going to use a larger drill bit for your larger than the nut. Goes in, don't go all the way through. Now you're going to attach the cap with 4 screws with some shorter screws. And now assemble your top piece. Again, once it's all assembled, the hardware, you can add some rubber feet on the top of there and to protect your ceiling. And now as you can see, it all kind of starting to come together. So here's what I'm talking about, the 2 inches at the top. We're going to wrap that with some carpet to give it a little nice fun top cap. You're going to cut it and just glue it with a hot glue. That stuff is great for every project. Going to wrap it around, add more glue, making sure it's secure. So what you're going to do now is just cut the tabs like you did with the other upholstery. And then just staple it on, pound it tight, and you're done with that. Now you're going to attach your top cap. You can use 1 screw, you can use 2 screws. I just did 1. And that's your top assembly. Alright, now we're working on shelves here. So drill some holes 3/4 through the bottom of your shelf. And then you're going to drill some pilots on the side here so you don't split the wood. And you're going to take 1 piece of your wood and a cut-off piece and put it together. And then you're basically going to attach the supports to your pole. Screw it in with 2-inch screws. Make sure it doesn't go through the bottom of your shelf. That's why I'm hand tightening it, because you don't want anything poking through the bottom of your foam. This is the most difficult aspect. I really struggled with this. So if you have trouble, don't worry, it's not just you. And then repeat this for each shelf. That gives you a nice support, you're going to actually secure yourself into the side of the pole. And now it's installation day. So we took down the old pole and replaced it with our new pole here. It's a little heavier, so it took 2 people. So at the very top, you're going to use your bolts to push that top piece into place nice and tight. There you go, our finished cat pole. The LED lights added afterwards. If you want me to do something like that, let me know. I'm happy to do that. It was a pain, I will tell you that for sure.
Well, there you have it. Cattower 2.0 build step by step. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, leave it down below. So I know that you've watched to this point, or at least fast forward to this point. Use the word Taco Cat in your comments so I know. Leave a like, subscribe. We've got more videos coming up, and thanks for watching.